Staring at herself in the mirror on the restroom door. Voices in her head that mirror what she's heard before.
Hey beautiful people, it's your girl Shakima. I'm just stopping in for today's celebs chat for Basketball Wives Season 9 Episode 6 we're on now, and I want to get into it with you guys. So before we dive deep into the unveiling of what's occurred in this episode, definitely be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Hit that notification bell, that way you can be kept in the know when I do upload these awesome videos for you guys. Now that we've gotten those festivities out of the way, guys, I really want to dive into this week's main topic, which is OG willing to be wrong to help herself in her healing process? Because this was a very interesting episode for me to watch. I don't know about you guys, but I really want to be able to unpack that with you guys and let you guys know what I observed in my psychoanalysis. As per usual, guys, this is strictly for psychoanalysis purposes in terms of what I'm speaking on and just observing how, you know, the engagement of personalities are occurring in this space. The next thing that I want to sort of dive into with you guys as well, I really want to sort of speak about the Nia and OG Beef as well, because that was interesting. I feel like I'm kind of preempting or kind of just kind of scoping what's going to come in the next episode. So let's see. So far I have been 2 for 2 actually, since I've been doing these with you guys. So let's see how I'm gonna do in this episode of these reviews when we dive into just the Malaysia, Kristen and OG conversation as well, because there's so much to unpack in that. So we'll be diving deep into that as well. Definitely stay woke for that. And we're gonna close out this space with Jackie's comments. I am not a colorist, okay? Jackie's adamant about this. And we want to unpack it, guys. We want to break this all down. So definitely stay woke for what's to come. Right, guys, so getting into all of this spiciness from this episode, one thing that I didn't necessarily speak about in the intro, I wasn't able to mention, I guess, because I didn't look at my notes that I've got here, about Shawnee and Evelyn leaving. That is definitely something to speak about, but I want to sort of start with the Malaysia and Kristen versus OG conversation, because I think that that's the dynamic that sort of like occurred in. Just kind of like they said as well, I thought that they were in for a breakthrough, but OG wasn't willing to basically be there on her own in the colorist thing, because I think everybody's acknowledging that they've upset her, that they've hurt her, and that they've done things that has basically offended her character. Okay, offended her nature, disrupted her spirit, however you want to call it, got her to a place of her resting bitch face, right? And they're acknowledging those things, but for some reason, it seems as though she's not able to receive it. Because like I said to you guys, she doesn't need this apology from them. She is seeking for an apology from the teacher that actually told her those really mean things based on her own place of insecurities. And it's just interesting to see this unfold, because she's just not willing to take any accountability. She's not really willing to take any responsibility. And this is something that I want to speak to you guys about. I don't know if you guys caught on to this one, but she was shape-shifting all over the place. I don't know if it was just me, right? But I was observing her like deflecting and putting her own issue onto everyone now. And I think that that's kind of like where it got very, very toxic very, very quickly. Because she is like having this whole conversation with Kristen and Malaysia, and the conversation isn't really going anywhere. It got somewhere and then she retracted. Because I think she has an issue with vulnerability. And I said this to you guys, like maybe the first episode that I did, or maybe it was the second one, I'm not too sure. But like this whole thing of needing to be strong, even when she's crying, she's defending herself, when that's more of a moment where she should be in a energy of receptivity. That's when she should be in an energy of receiving the love and nurturing that is going to, help her soul go through her healing process. But it's like she just can't let herself be there or live that for some reason, and I feel bad for her. I don't know about you guys, but that's just the kind of vibe and energy that I get when I'm observing her. I just feel bad for her. I feel bad for this person that is hurting so deeply within themselves that they're causing a destruction around them, and they're not even aware of the behaviors or mannerisms that they're exhibiting that is causing people to basically want to be away from them. So that has been very, very interesting to observe, to say the least. I can say it's an observation, but honestly, I pray for her. Genuinely, I pray for her heart and soul, because this is going to continue to disrupt her relationships if she doesn't necessarily reflect on this wound. Because the distortion that she's having with females, and I spoke to you guys about this before, like the way that she engages with females is completely different to the way that she engages with guys, and for some reason she just isn't able to connect with her female companions in the same way. I like the fact that Malaysia brought up a really, really great point during that conversation. Nobody's ever address color but OG, and I even said this in my last episode, guys. Like, OG seems to be the one that keeps creating this narrative that she is being hard done by because of her color, because like her past trauma is clearly filtering her current situations, so she's not able to see clearly at the minute. But I honestly, like, if we can just like put out some prayers to OG, that would be bomb.com. What else kind of transpired during this episode? I think I could see that Kristen was kind of at a place as they were having the conversation where she was just kind of like over it. She was like, are you going to take any accountability? Like anything? And OG just kept deflecting. So in terms of the talk that OG had with, Malaysia and Kristen, that dynamic, I think she was coming off of that conversation very hot and heavy. And still in her defenses, and her guards were still up, because again, she hasn't learned how to transfer, and this is probably very tricky for her as well, because she's no longer a pro athlete in terms of like practicing. She's not like employed at the minute as a pro athlete. She's now retired, and she doesn't really have anywhere to exert a lot of her aggression, and it's just really, really tricky for her to navigate through this new climate of her environment, because that may have been a great outlet for her before, and also a lot of the females that she may have been around probably exuded a lot of the same energy that she carries in terms of like this very like brash masculine energy. But I think it was good on Malaysia for calling that out, because the truth is OG is dealing with an issue with OG, and I think that everybody has been very supportive as much as they can be. They've been very encouraging as much as they really can be with the situation, and it's just she's not willing to receive it just yet, because she doesn't think that she needs healing, and that's a part of the issue. So that brings me to wrapping up the initial question. Is OG willing to be wrong to accept her healing and help herself through her process? The answer is no, like she said, okay? She was very clear, like, no, I don't want to resolve this issue, because I told you guys in the last episode, she's not looking for a resolve. She's looking to be right. And that's all that matters to her. She's on this campaign to be right. She's on this campaign to validate her experience as a child, because she hasn't healed from the trauma of that. And for some reason, she's dragging the whole cast of Basketball Wives down with her. Bringing me to my next topic, guys. Clearly we know that OG is guilty of not being willing to be wrong to learn how to grow in all the right ways. I'll say that. But in terms of her beef with Nia, that was interesting. That was very telling, right? Because that blowed up. Obviously, I know we're only seeing like a snippet of what goes on during like their entire engagement and experience with each other, but damn, like, can we talk about it, guys? Can we talk about it? Like, Nia wasted no time as well. She was just like, I can bring her to the table. Okay, like, if you want that meat, I can bring her to the table. And again, I'm gonna figure out her sister's name. I am, now that she's gotten into the mixing part of it. But I'm not quite there yet. I actually still don't remember her name, but I'm gonna plug her name somewhere in this video so you guys can sort of like see that. But I'm definitely gonna give you guys a link to the other videos that I've done on this so far, because one, the videos aren't getting enough traction, and two, it's almost like you guys are getting an opportunity to see me counsel OG from afar, and just highlight the different aspects of her character that is going to continue to show up, because that's how it's occurred thus far, right? So if you guys are interested in that, check out the other episodes. I'm going to be plugging them somewhere around here. There's only 2 guys, so, you know, support your girl, okay? But that beef was something. I wouldn't say it was everything. I mean, like, when her and Evelyn got into it on their trip, that was everything. But that was something. That was definitely something. What I observed with Nia, oh, wow, guys. Like, my mind is taking me back there. Because I watched this earlier today. But my mind's taking me back there of, like, everybody just kind of, like, taking out their... They didn't have physical receipts as such, because I didn't see anyone bring any receipts like how Evelyn did with her printed receipts. And yeah, I think the dynamics between that space, like learning that OG and Nia actually had some sort of interaction, engagement outside of the show before Nia came onto the show, that wasn't something that the guys were aware of. I think OG is very double standards. I can't say it any other way, because that's just how she's kind of showed up. She doesn't necessarily want people to talk about things that makes her uncomfortable, but she likes to pry in other people's business. So you can't give that kind of energy and not expect to receive it. So we're going to see how that pans out for her. One thing that my mind's also pulling up whilst I say that, just a quick thing on Jackie. Jackie's still working on that communication thing, because the way that she relayed that whole situation to Malaysia about what transpired between Nia and OG, I was like, that's kind of what happened, but that's not really what happened in that way, Jackie. But you delivered the information enough for Malaysia to get clarity, but that wasn't the entire way. So Jackie still needs to work on that, can we just say. But we'll see how that kind of plays itself out throughout the show. I like the fact that Jen actually, like, tried to have a conversation, you know, in the midst of everything. You know, once Nia and Jackie and Nia's sister went over to the house and stuff, and Jackie came back, you know, when Jackie was talking about the fact that OG's basically now saying that everybody's a bloody racist, you know, Jackie's like, I'm not a racist, you know, when they asked, like, what is a colorist? Sorry, there we go. I'm not a colorist. When they asked what is a colorist, she's like, oh, beating your kid and, or saying to your kid, like, get out of bed, something, you black something, right? I agree with her in terms of conditioning. I think I understand what she's trying to say, because I think she's trying to speak to us, guys. I want you guys to hear her, okay? Because I spoke to you guys about this contrast that was occurring in her child within, like when she experienced that situation as a child. It was one of those things where she was... Obviously, she's an African princess back home, and then she's experiencing this kind of contrast where the very things that she is proud of and to be are things that are looked down upon in society where she is. So that's very difficult for a child to navigate through. But I think she's trying to, like, give us some insight into this shadow that she's navigating through, so that we understand that maybe why what the teacher said had such a damning effect on her is because there was a sense of grandiosity, maybe, because of the parallel that she was living outside of that experience with the teacher. She's a princess, man, like real shit, like an actual princess. So, you know, being in a position where she observed herself in a certain type of way, and then to be looked at from the outside lens and be judged in a negative for the things that you look within yourself as a positive, that now gets you to a place of questioning those very same things that you're very proud of. You know, it starts to cloud your judgment, and the pride now becomes tainted because it now becomes a defense almost, or it feels like you're having to defend it. And that's very difficult for a person to kind of navigate through. So again, my heart definitely goes out to OG, because I think she's crying out for help. She doesn't realize that she's crying out for help in other ways. So I'm hoping that the ladies are able to continue to be patient with her. I don't know. Because I think even towards the end, like, Jen was kind of over it when they were having that conversation after she basically ran Nia and her sister out of the house after 48 hours. But OG definitely needs to check her behavioral traits and patterns, because this is dysfunctional behaviors within friendship dynamics being exhibited at its finest, is what I'd say. So yeah, guys, that part. Shawnee and Evelyn left, and I get why. Shawnee made like a whole speech and made it like a whole thing. But I think when she realized that now OG is like blowing this up and she's not looking to budge, OG looked so uncomfortable when Jackie was having that conversation with her. Like, she looked so uncomfortable about like, oh, like, I'm having to basically like say that it didn't happen to me, but that's not what anybody's asking. And Jackie even highlighted that, like, nobody's asking you to say what happened to you didn't happen to you. We're just asking you to acknowledge that this may not be what's happening right now. You know, we've been guilty of so many other things, but the things that you're putting out there, that's too extreme. We can't get on board with that. Like, can you actually like meet us somewhere in the middle? And I like the fact that Jackie tried to do that. OG is going through a real emotional turmoil, guys. Like, we don't know what her soul's navigating through right now. But like I said, I pray for her heart to be able to get to a place of finding peace or making peace with that situation with the help of her sisters, because I think that they are helping her in ways that she doesn't even necessarily realize enough to be able to be receptive and acceptable to it. She's too busy defending herself, and she's too busy in self-preservation mode that she's not able to actually relax and be taken care of. Which is exactly what she needs while she's addressing this wound and navigating through the process of the trauma that was ensued upon her, like, in the point of creating this wound with this teacher dynamic, you know. And that's sad too, to think that, you know, you send your kids to school and you're building their sense of identity up only for somebody to break it down in that kind of environment. And it's not even, you know, the children who tend to have no filters, it's the adults who are supposed to be their protectors, who are supposed to basically be their voice and soundboard to be able to express certain things that they're not able to put into perspective for themselves. So that in itself is just, like I mentioned, the definition of what we've been observing from OG, that she's trying to speak on: systematic racism. And I think she should speak on that, because that's really the truth of what she's trying to speak on. But their vision is distorted, but I see that Spirit's put this calling on her heart. She needs to speak about this on this platform. So let's give her the room to be able to do that. And let's pray for her sense of clarity throughout the process, because she means well, she has information, she has knowledge, but it's all distorted. She needs to refine it a little bit more. There's things that she said, again, gonna plug my content, guys, in the videos. I've addressed it in some of the other videos where she mentioned about like featureism and stuff like that. The stuff that she mentioned in terms of featureism, she's absolutely right, but that's not something like European features isn't specific to white people, for lack of a better way of putting it. Black people actually have the very same sort of facial features, and it's just a fact. If we're going to speak about the process of evolution, going from the melanated man to the melanated man, a black man basically, to the white man, it was just the process of evolution that occurred. I think we're still kind of like getting used to that concept, because we're still just, you know, too busy on trying to get all the specifics of things that is quite frankly none of our business. Do you know what I mean? We just need to get here and do our work. So as for OG and doing her work, Jackie says she is not a colorist. If you are wanting to salvage this friendship, you're really going to have to take some of what she's saying into consideration, because you may feel as though you're experiencing her as a colorist because of the lenses that you're observing her. And like I said, as people of color, we're all guilty of a little bit of colorism to some extent. It depends on where you are in that spectrum, right? So I'm not going to say that OG is entirely wrong, because she has something that her soul is trying to get off its chest. And I want that to be heard as well. But what I'm saying is the way in which she's going about it. She could have brought this topic onto the show and helped herself heal. Like, she could have utilized the support of her sisters, of her tribe, of the people that she has around her, and really let herself be vulnerable. And that could have been an amazing storyline to really talk about this colorist issue, especially because we're already navigating through all of that stuff in society as it is at the minute. So that would be a great opportunity for her to be able to tell her story and have it be reflected in a positive way. But unfortunately, she just wasn't there yet. She's still not quite there yet. But I hope that, you know, through prayer and intention, she can get to where she needs to be, because I believe in her. I think that her soul's really trying to communicate something about the shadows. It's just, and especially as a shadow worker, that's my speciality, guys. If you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, actually sort of like working on yourself and like learning how not to be such a trigger finger, because when you're pointing, you're actually pointing fingers back at yourself for one, as they say, but you're literally like pulling the trigger, like firing shots at other people when you're triggered. It's just a natural thing. You know, the body's reactive to the physiology, the physics of the environment around us. It engages with our physiology. So what I would say is OG needs to learn how to maintain being triggered, and she also needs to learn how to not gaslight as well, because she seems to have a little bit of a bad tendency with that, because she'll call you out on your shit, but she's not really willing to like really own her shit. And even if like you call her out on the fact of that, she's like, well, if I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to talk about it. So yeah. Do we think, guys, okay, I'm gonna leave you guys with this question. Comment down below. Do we think that OG contacted Nia, because that was something that they had a conversation about, like trying to bring this whole Phoebe beef into perspective? I think that's going to be interesting for the next episode. Phoebe's come in like on one. She's ready, she's on job, she's like, how'd you get here? Like, she is ready for it, and I am here for it. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. But who do you think contacted who? Because for me, I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't really speak on it. I think that this is what I think may have happened, right? And this is me. I could be reaching, okay? I think that Nia actually probably reached out to OG and let her know that she had some juice. And she kind of like has an issue with Phoebe as well. Because I don't think that OG would know to go directly to Nia, right? I don't see how they could kind of like come into each other's like alignment in terms of paths. And I think that because obviously Nia knows OG's on the show and Phoebe's kind of come on, and Phoebe and OG aren't necessarily clicking. They've had their whole situation. I think Nia might have allegedly, okay, reached out to OG to let her know that she might have some, you know, like just let her know that she has some beef with Phoebe as well. It may not be that she wants to give her tea, but that she has some juice with some issues with Phoebe as well, right? And I think OG may have sought that as an opportunity to basically murder Phoebe, because OG don't rap. Like, OG does not play. She's out here like trigger. Like, she's out here on trigger all day. Yeah. She's on trigger all day. So I think from what I can see in this space, that may be a likelihood that that's how the situation kind of like went down, because OG's very much like into, that's a behavior that she has, and I'm glad that Evelyn pointed that out as well. She utilizes information, she weaponizes it to attack people, again, because she does not know how to come out of this behavioral pattern. She is still in a place of defense. She's never dealt with what that teacher's done to her. Her career choice even reflects that, with her, you know, being a pro athlete, being able to kind of, you know, just kind of get some of that aggression out. But yeah, like, hashtag OG needs saving. Like, real talk, guys. Hashtag OG needs saving. From herself in the nicest possible way, because I think that she's going to ruin more relationships in the future if she's not careful with how she's navigating through the space here. And also, I think that as she's navigating through this space, she's not being conscious. She's not woke in the nicest possible way. Okay, let me rephrase that. Because she has knowledge and information. So what I mean, there's levels of this woke game now. Okay, when you're woke, you've got information. When you are conscious, you are a conscious manifester practicing the art of knowledge in its physical form. Okay, you actually know how to implement things. I think OG has a lot of information, but again, the practice of it, because she has double standards, is very distorted. So yeah, that's what I'd say. But comment down below. I'm gonna leave it here for you guys because I didn't want this to be too long of a review. But let me know, who do you guys think actually contacted who? OG contacting Nia, or Nia contacting OG? We need to have a discussion about this, guys, because the truth is somewhere in the middle. I'll say that. The truth is somewhere in the middle. You guys let me know what your thoughts are. If you guys have liked this whole space, then definitely be sure to give me a thumbs up and check out some of the other videos and let me know what you think of those as well. Comment down below and let me know what you thought about this week's episode and who did what in terms of the OG and Nia situation. And definitely be sure to subscribe, guys. If you're feeling my vibe, subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you can definitely be kept in the know of when we do these spaces, guys, because we want to make this a thing, right? We want to get to know each other. You know, just like we're like getting to know these ladies on the screen, we want to get to know each other. Like, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know, you know, how you feel about what's actually transpiring. Let me know if you think I'm wrong as well about anything, guys, because I'm open to multi visions and viewpoints of perspective to be able to get like a full scope of the picture, because there's many truths. Like, that's one thing I will say, there are many truths in the universe. It's all subjective. So yeah, all of that awesomeness being said, I'm gonna love you guys and leave it there for you guys. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, my loves, mwah, take care, God bless.
Things they said to hold her back, they never seem to leave her head, and tend to keep her minded. Oh.